Okay, hi guys, hi. Let's continue talking about the geography and early Greeks. We started already, and we describe how was the geography of the area and the different features in the Greece geography. And also we spoke about these two main, the principal group of people at the beginning of this great civilization. The first one was the Mycenaeans, and the other one, the Minoans and the Mycenaeans. Minoans, not the Minions, as I told you. The Minoans and Mycenaeans. And we made the difference that with the Minoans, they developed in an island in Crete, the island of Crete, and then the Mycenaeans, they in inland, okay, they develop in inland. I don't know if you are, I think, let me make sure. I'm not sure if I am sharing and you are able to watch what I'm watching right now. Okay, I think right now you are watching what I'm watching right now. Okay, now this is the last slides we were discussing. We talk about the millions and how this disappear in history, and it says about the great uh, volcano that create this huge how they call it tsunami sorry tsunami, and destroyed that civilization. And then came the other one, the Mycenaeans, and they control this area that belongs to the Minoans. And we finish over here. Now let's continue. The Greek creeds city-state. Now they call it city-states. Like, I don't know, we could say like here in Panama, we use province. Now they use it city-states, where they how divided the country. The Greek of the Dark Ages left no written record. There's no record about those ages. All that we know about the period comes from archaeological findings. About 300 years after the Mycenaean civilization crumbled, the Greeks started to join together in small groups for protection and stability. Over time, these groups set up independent city-states. Okay, they had come together in order to defend against any enemy. The creation of the polis marked the beginning of what is known as Greece classic era, the polis. During this era, the number of and size of civilizations around the world began to increase the population. In Greece, this era saw the rise of dominant states. There were some, as I mentioned before, they gathered as a group and they were called states, and some of these were growing up bigger than the rest, and that's why they were the dominant. Like it says in Greece, this era saw the rise of dominant city-states. A Greek city was usually built around a strong fortress. Usually they create around the city a fortress, una fortaleza. This fortress often stood on top of an acropolis. The town around the acropolis was surrounded by walls for added protection. Now, this is one example, the acropolis. The Greek cities were built on hill so that the military leaders could see invading armies approaching. That's what those structures were built on top of a high mountain, and there's gonna be in the middle, and then surrounding is the city-states. Life in the city often focus on the marketplace or agora. Marketplace is agora. Like we have over here, there is a place called Plaza Agora. So that's agora came from the Greek word that means marketplace. Okay, Plaza Agora they took that name and used it as a marketplace. So that's the name, the original name, marketplace. Farmers brought their crops to the market to trade for goods made by craftsmen in the town. Because It was a large open space. The market also served as a meeting place also. People held both political and religious assemblies in the market. It often contained shop as well. The city-state became the foundation of Greek civilization. Besides providing security for its people, the city gave them an identity. People thought of themselves as a residents of a city, not as a Greek. Oh my God. Now, this is an example of what it used to be back in those days. The Agora of Athens was located below the Acropolis. This is the Acropolis, and below. It was the center of commercial and political life. People talking about political, and then people selling their things as a market, like in a market. City-states and colonizations. Life in Greece eventually became more settled. Some Greek began to dream of becoming rich through trade. Others became curious about neighboring lands around the Mediterranean Sea, and they wanted to go and conquer someplace else. Some also worry about how to deal with Greece's growing population. Despite their different reasons, all these people eventually reached the same idea: the Greeks should establish colonies. Before long, groups from city-states around Greeks began to set up colonies in distant land. Afterward, Greeks colonies became independent. In other words, each colony became a new polis or new city. In fact, some cities that began as colonies began to create colonies of their own. This meant that Greece continued to expand. Pattern of trade. Although the colonies were independent, they often traded with city-states in Greece. This trade was based on the supply and demand of certain goods with uniforms or agreed upon value. For example, the colonies' location gave them access to resources that the city-states wanted. So that's why they try to conquer a specific area in order to obtain these resources that the city-state in Greece, they needed. In return, the Greek city-states sent wine, olive oil, and other products to the colonies. The early Greeks used the sea as a source of food and as a way of trading with other communities. They were a very great shipbuilders. As you see, they are building a ship. The trade made the city-states much richer because of their location. Some city-states became great trading centers. By the year 550 BC, the Greeks had become the greatest traders in the whole Aegean region, en el área del Mar Egeo. The Greek ships sailed to Egypt and cities around the Black Sea. And that's the end of the topic that talks about the geography and the early Greek. That was the beginning. And now, next week, we're going to talk about the Spartans and the Athens. That's very interesting class. That's going to be next week. In the meantime, let me take you to show you, see some videos that they are over here in the platform. Let's begin with this one. This what was a Greek city-states. Focus, focus, focus.
The ancient era is filled with stories from major empires and kingdoms, like the Egyptians, the Babylonians, the Persians, and the Hittites. But the history of ancient Greece took a different route. When we talk about Greece in ancient times, we are not simply talking about a kingdom, an empire, or a country, because they were not organized this way. Greece was formed by a large amount of city-states. Each city-state was like a tiny country. The Greek cities had total sovereignty over their territories because their governments were autonomous and independent. Therefore, a unified Greek state did not exist back then as it does now. Since each city was autonomous and independent, their customs and forms of government could be quite different between them. They could be organized as democracies, as it happened in Athens, where the power was in the hands of the citizens. It could also be an aristocracy like in Thebes or Corinth, where the noblemen had the power. And there were also oligarchies, where a tiny group of citizens ruled everyone else, as it was the case of Sparta. The Greeks from this period did not proclaim themselves as Greeks, but as Hellenic. Based on Greek mythology, Helenus was the son of Deucalion and Pyrrha, the survivors of the flood carried by Zeus and Poseidon. This way, the Greeks were direct descendants of Helenus. Therefore, religion had a major role in the establishment of a common identity between Greek city-states. The same was valid for the Greek language, which, in spite of its variations, was shared by all Greeks. Among the different Greek city-states, some were more notorious than others. Among them, we have Athens, the birthplace of democracy and Western culture. Its name derives from the city's protective deity and the goddess of wisdom. The powerful Sparta, a city with a strong military culture, descended from the Doric invaders, who, according to legend, were the heirs of the great hero Hercules. The city of Thebes, founded where once was the old kingdom of Boeotia, was the home of the mythological kings Oedipus and Cadmus, the city's founder. The city of Corinth, in turn, had a strategic location separating the peninsula of the Peloponnese from the rest of Greece, and for that, the city was always involved in major clashes. We cannot forget the city of Olympia, home of the Olympic Games. This pan-Hellenic event was crucial to strengthen the cultural bonds between the different cities. The Greek model of city-states achieved major success.
Okay, let's watch another one that I have several.
City-states. The ancient Greek civilization was made up of hundreds of city-states. These were local communities with a shared identity, culture, philosophy, economy, leadership, and army. Most city-states were isolated from each other due to the mountainous landscape. Many of the islands in the Aegean Sea were also city-states. Some city-states had kings, while others were ruled over by tyrants. In later years, some, like Athens, became democracies, where every citizen had the right to vote and stand for election. Athens and Sparta.
That's next week. Tom.
The most powerful city-states were Athens and Sparta. In a way, they were polar opposites. The Athenians were educated and cultured. They valued wisdom and art very highly. Athens was the birthplace of democracy. Every citizen had the right to vote. The Spartans, on the other hand, had 2 kings and an assembly of elders. They were more interested in fighting than philosophy or the arts. They trained their boys to be fearless soldiers. Girls also had to keep fit and strong, so that they would give birth to strong children when they were older. The Greek historian and philosopher Plutarch, AD 46 to 119, commented that the Spartans treated their women with the utmost respect when compared to other city-states. City-states at war. One thing the Athenians and Spartans had in common was their love of war. Both city-states built up strong armies. They also formed partnerships with other city-states. Strong city-states, such as Athens and Sparta, regularly went to war with each other. Most wars were fights about territory and trade. City-states wanted more land, wealth, and power, and they had to fight to get it. One of the most famous wars was the Peloponnesian War, 431 to 404 BC, between Athens and Sparta. It was a huge victory for the Spartans. This war set an example to the other city-states, many of whom had sided with either Athens or Sparta. It made war seem desirable. After all, if the Spartans could defeat the strongest city-state in ancient Greece, anything was possible.
Okay, let's see what else what I got over here.
In this video, we are going to learn about ancient Greece. Ancient Greece! It's going to be so fascinating. You're going to be like, what? I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. And you're going to want to share all the facts you learn with other people and be like, listen, you have no idea how awesome ancient Greece was. You see, ancient Greece was a powerful civilization that ruled much of the Mediterranean region, and at times even beyond the Mediterranean region. Ancient Greece was so powerful. It is so important to learn about ancient Greece because they impacted us so much, even though they ruled the Mediterranean several thousand years ago. What's really cool is they impacted so many aspects of our lives, even sports, math, art, philosophy, the way we do government, the way we do science. That all goes back to the ancient Greeks. Now, you might be wondering, where in the world was ancient Greece? Well, we're going to show you on a world map so that you know exactly where in the world we're talking about. Here is the area in the world where ancient Greece was, in a region called the Mediterranean. The Mediterranean is actually the name of a sea, and the area of the sea where ancient Greece was called the Mediterranean Basin. Actually, it's still called the Mediterranean Basin. And in fact, ancient Greece, the place where that is, that's where modern-day Greece is, and here is the flag of the country of Greece. Now, this is kind of cool. Many historians put the story of ancient Greece into three time periods. The first time period is the Archaic period. The second is the Classical period, and the third is the Hellenistic period. These are the three time periods of ancient Greece. Wow.
Okay, let's stop right here because we don't have enough time to continue watching the videos. Anyway, over here you have a set of videos that could summarize what we have learned in. This is only the introduction of the Greek civilization. So next week we're gonna start talking about, like they mentioned, the two main city-state that was the Spartans and the Athens. Okay, so have a wonderful weekend, guys, and then I'll see you next week. Shaolin, guys. Bye bye. See ya.